The Civil War in Virginia. The Civil War in Virginia in 1862 was a pivotal and tumultuous period in American history, marked by significant battles, strategic movements, and profound political developments. In this year, the conflict between the Northern Union states and the Southern Confederate states reached a critical juncture, with Virginia serving as one of its primary theaters. One of the most significant events in Virginia during 1862 was the Peninsula Campaign. Union General George B. McClellan led his Army of the Potomac to the Virginia Peninsula, aiming to capture the Confederate capital of Richmond. This campaign included the Battle of Yorktown, where Union forces encountered strong Confederate defenses but eventually forced a Confederate retreat. However, McClellan's cautious approach allowed the Confederates time to regroup. The next major engagement occurred at the Battle of Williamsburg, where Union and Confederate forces clashed in early May. Although this battle was inconclusive, it demonstrated that the Confederate Army, commanded by General Joseph E. Johnston, was willing to fight and delay McClellan's advance. The pivotal moment of the Peninsula Campaign came with the Battle of Seven Pines. Here, Confederate General Johnston was wounded, and command was transferred to General Robert E. Lee. Lee, recognizing the need for an offensive strategy, initiated a series of attacks on McClellan's forces in what became known as the 7 Days Battles. The Confederates managed to drive the Union Army away from Richmond, effectively ending McClellan's Peninsula Campaign. Simultaneously, in Northern Virginia, another critical campaign unfolded. General Thomas Stonewall Jackson led a daring and effective campaign in the Shenandoah Valley, diverting Union troops and resources away from Richmond. Jackson's brilliant maneuvers earned him the nickname Stonewall and solidified his reputation as one of the South's most formidable commanders. The Battle of Second Bull Run, also known as Second Manassas, was another key event in 1862. Confederate General Lee's Army of Northern Virginia clashed with Union General John Pope's Army of Virginia. Lee emerged victorious, decisively defeating Pope and setting the stage for his first invasion of the North. Following the Union defeat at Second Bull Run, Lee embarked on his Maryland campaign, culminating in the Battle of Antietam in September 1862. This battle, fought near Sharpsburg, Maryland, was one of the deadliest single-day battles in American history. Although it ended in a tactical draw, it was a strategic victory for the Union, as it halted Lee's invasion and provided President Abraham Lincoln with the opportunity to issue the Emancipation Proclamation. The Emancipation Proclamation, issued on September 22, 1862, declared that all slaves in Confederate-held territory would be considered free as of January 1, 1863. This proclamation transformed the character of the Civil War by making the abolition of slavery a central war aim. After the Emancipation Proclamation, 1863. After the Emancipation Proclamation of 1862, which declared the freedom of slaves in Confederate-held territory, the Civil War in the United States entered a new phase in 1863–1864. This period was marked by significant developments in the fight against slavery, the continuation of major military campaigns, and a growing shift towards a war for freedom and equality. One of the most profound consequences of the Emancipation Proclamation was its impact on the status of African Americans within the Union. As word of the proclamation spread, enslaved people in Confederate territory began to escape to Union lines, seeking freedom. These individuals often became known as contrabands, and their numbers swelled significantly as the war progressed. Many of them played vital roles as laborers, scouts, and soldiers in support of the Union cause. The year 1863 saw several notable military engagements. The Battle of Gettysburg, fought in July, is perhaps the most famous. It was a turning point in the war, as General Robert E. Lee's Confederate Army of Northern Virginia was defeated by Union forces under General George G. Meade. This battle effectively ended Lee's second invasion of the North and marked a significant setback for the Confederacy. Simultaneously, Union forces captured the key Confederate stronghold of Vicksburg, Mississippi, in July 1863. This victory gave the Union control of the Mississippi River and effectively split the Confederacy in two, severely limiting its ability to move troops and supplies. In 1864, the war continued to intensify. General Ulysses S. Grant was appointed as the overall commander of Union forces, and he initiated a coordinated strategy to apply pressure on multiple fronts. The Overland Campaign in Virginia pitted Grant's forces against Lee's Army of Northern Virginia in a series of brutal battles, including the Wilderness, Spotsylvania Courthouse, and Cold Harbor. Although the Union suffered heavy casualties, Grant's determination and willingness to press on marked a significant change in Union strategy. In addition to military campaigns, political developments continued to shape the course of the war. In 1864, President Abraham Lincoln was re-elected, signaling popular support for his leadership and his war aims. His vision of preserving the Union and ending slavery remained at the forefront of his agenda. Throughout this period, the Emancipation Proclamation's impact deepened. It laid the groundwork for the 13th Amendment to the Constitution, which abolished slavery throughout the United States and was ratified in December 1865. Toward a Union victory, 1864–65. The years 1864 to 1865 were a crucial period in the American Civil War, as they saw a series of events and campaigns that ultimately led to a Union victory. During this time, the Union's military strategies, political developments, and key battles played pivotal roles in shaping the outcome of the conflict. One of the defining aspects of this period was General Ulysses S. Grant's leadership as the overall commander of Union forces. Grant's strategy involved relentless pressure on the Confederacy, characterized by a willingness to engage Confederate armies in battle, regardless of the cost. This approach was evident in the Overland Campaign in Virginia, where Grant repeatedly clashed with General Robert T. Lee's Army of Northern Virginia. Although these battles, such as the Wilderness, Spotsylvania Courthouse, and Cold Harbor, resulted in heavy casualties for both sides, they demonstrated the Union's determination to win. Another key campaign during this period was the Atlanta Campaign, led by General William Tecumseh Sherman. His forces captured Atlanta in September 1864 after a series of battles and a destructive march through Georgia. The fall of Atlanta was a significant blow to the Confederacy, as it was a major industrial and transportation hub. This victory boosted Northern morale and further eroded Confederate resources. The political landscape also played a crucial role during this time. President Abraham Lincoln's re-election in November 1864, despite early doubts about his chances, signaled continued support for the Union war effort and his leadership. Lincoln's second term solidified his commitment to ending slavery and preserving the Union. The final military campaign that led to Union victory was General Sherman's March to the Sea, which commenced in November 1864. Sherman's army cut a swath of destruction through Georgia, seizing Savannah in December. This campaign further isolated Confederate forces and demonstrated the Union's ability to project power deep into the South. In early 1865, General Grant launched a series of coordinated offensives that put increasing pressure on the Confederacy. The capture of Fort Fisher in North Carolina closed the last major Confederate port on the Atlantic coast, severely limiting the Confederacy's ability to receive supplies. The culmination of these efforts occurred in April 1865 when General Lee's Army of Northern Virginia was trapped and forced to surrender to General Grant at Appomattox Courthouse. This event effectively signaled the end of organized Confederate resistance. Subsequently, other Confederate armies across the South surrendered in the following weeks.